Jim, we're less than a month before the elections here. Polls are showing Vice President Biden in the lead. We're not politicians, but what, if anything, would a Biden victory mean for ETFs and the mutual fund industry, or even if a Democratic sweep of the Senate? Would it have any impact on the ETF or investing industry?
Well, broadly speaking, if it was a sweep, Wall Street would probably have a hiccup just due to the fact that it tends to favor gridlock. But a Biden win, I'd say, is almost priced into today's market prices, given that all the polls suggest that he's significantly ahead of the president. Where I think it favors most will be in the overlooked, underappreciated, unloved areas, the value side of the ledger, as I suspect we'd see a massive stimulus injection, this time tied to actual job creation, not just for roads, bridges, sewers, pipelines, but also for the information technology highway that as a still developing democracy, we need to ensure equitable access to opportunity among all of our citizens. So I think you might see value begin to at least be a second oar in the water next to the growth side and technology, rather than just spinning on the axis of technology in 2021.
Yeah. Kevin, you want to take a swing at this? I mean, one thing that's very interesting to me is they seem to be talking about two different kinds of stimulus programs. One is the stimulus that Pelosi and Mnuchin, are discussing. But then the street seems to be actively discussing what, if anything, would happen if the Democrats were in power and there was a separate stimulus plan. Jim seems to allude to that with infrastructure, for example. Does this mean anything to you? Is this on your radar at all, Kevin?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I would say, first of all, I've learned since the Brexit vote never to use polls to make investment decisions. They're entertaining, but they do not determine outcomes. So the question, let's make the assumption, as you said, that Biden wins, and even it's a Democratic sweep, fine. He'll inherit an economy somewhere between 8 and 9% unemployment. His number one mandate will be to get those people back to work. So let's take the idea of raising taxes dramatically to corporations. Highly unlikely. You're going to spend $1 billion to $2 billion, or sorry, $1 trillion to $2 trillion from the top. You're pouring that on the economy. It makes no sense to tax it away as soon as you deliver it. So there'll be a delay on tax increases, I would assume, for probably 24 months until he got unemployment below at least 5%. Given his age, the chance of a second mandate is very, very low. So I'm going to make the assumption he'll be tied up. His hands are tied in making any dramatic policies. Let me give you an example, the Great Green Deal. That would displace about 250,000 to 500,000 people working in the energy space right now. Highly unlikely when you're at 8.5% unemployment. So I'm going to make the assumption that even if the reason the market's ignoring this election, more or less, is Biden's going to be pretty benign. He won't be able to get much done, if anything, towards these dramatic changes in policy, and that'll be left for the election after he's finished his first and only mandate. And I'm not trying to be critical at all. Age is a factor, obviously.
Yeah. Armando, just briefly, the taxation on capital gains is the one thing the trading desks always say, oh, that's something we're really worried about, because he does have that in his policy. Is that a concern for the ETF industry overall and the investment industry overall, or do you feel like Kevin that it's unlikely a lot of these proposals will get enacted?
I agree with Kevin, and I think that what matters the most is, number one, for investors to stay invested. I mean, if Biden wins, you're gonna see large fiscal stimulus that is gonna come and support the market. So ultimately, the most important thing is to have the election over. That will remove the uncertainty, and that will be good for the market.